As you guys know, the Soviet Union has been demolished for a while now, but there are a lot of cool stories that took place in this country that we should know about. Today, we're gonna explain the most mysterious story that took place in the Soviet Union. In January 1959, 9 college students, which were athletes, decide to go on a research camping trip in the Ural Mountains of Russia. Put up a tent over there, stay for 16 days, then return. It's the winter and it's extremely cold. They pack up all their supplies and they're ready to go. The college of these students is covering all the costs for this trip. But in the last minute, before the group left for the camping trip, they told him to take this guy as well, Semyon Zolotaryov. He was a 37-year-old man at the time and he participated in World War II. The group didn't have a choice, so they had to listen to the college. So it was 10 people and they started the journey. Just as they started the trip, Semyon gets a stomachache. He said, "I have a stomachache and can't go." The students asked him, "Should we just go?" He said, "Yeah, you guys keep going without me." They started the journey and Semyon returned. They continued their journey into the Ural Mountains. But this is where the story stops, because they disappear and their remains are the only thing that were found. A few days pass and no report comes out on where these guys are at. The family of the students worry and they contact the university and they ask them, "What happened to our kids? Weren't they supposed to be back already?" The university said, "We don't have information either," and that is why they called the rescue people to go and find them. Even the Soviet army took over. The search group really tried to find the footprints of these students. From the ski prints in the snow, they found their campground and they get to the tent. These guys had a huge tent and the ski supplies was organized outside of the tent. On top of the tent, there's snow, and on the side of the tent, it's been cut open. But inside the tent, there's a bunch of untouched food, but no dead bodies. When they investigated, they noticed that the tent was cut open from the inside, not the outside. All the investigators began to think, like, what happened to these 9 super athletes, young, with all the supplies for the cold weather? How can they just disappear like that? You might not believe it, but their clothes and boots were all inside the tent still, and they're not in there, meaning they went with their regular clothes. Without boots? Yes, the footprints that they found in the snow all were barefoot, meaning they walked on the snow barefoot. When they follow the footsteps 200 to 300 meters south, they find a tree with 2 dead bodies next to it. These 2 in this weather only had underwear on, nothing else. A little bit next to them, 2 other dead bodies were found. The footprints of these 2 were heading towards back to the tent, meaning they probably wanted to go back. But it's not obvious what happened, but the dead bodies were found like that. These guys are with underwear, but they have a shirt. A few days later, the investigators find another body, and this one was buried underneath the tent. This dead body had a fractured skull, meaning a heavy object hit its head. The first theory they come up with is that a criminal came and killed everybody. But that theory passed really quickly because you couldn't prove a person killed these people. After investigating around that tree where the first bodies were found, they noticed an old igloo. In this igloo, they can't find anything, but they get suspicious about the floor of it. And they start digging. When they start digging, they notice that there's something down here, so they continue digging. After digging for 3 meters, they find the remaining 4 dead bodies. All these 4 bodies were crushed, meaning the bones in their bodies were all destroyed. When they investigated the bones, it looked like that these guys were in a horrific car crash. And they also noticed that these last 4 that they found survived longer than the other 5. The thought of someone coming and killing these people went out of their heads, because it's not possible to kill 9 people like this. They came up with other theories, like how is it possible for 9 athletes to go camping but leave all their supplies in this weather, rip up their tent, and run in different direction and die. They also came up with conspiracy theories as well, like a monster came in the dark and killed all of them. Or some people say a Yeti came and killed them, and Yeti is a fictional character. The investigators couldn't find any answers. That is why they started investigating the college. And they noticed that a 37-year-old man was supposed to be with them. What happened to him? Where is he? And who was he? They only could investigate him as far as noticing that he was in the KGB. After that, the investigation on him had to be stopped. There's a chance that the KGB told them, you can't investigate one of our agents. Another theory said that a nuclear bomb was tested over there and the shockwave killed these people. But the ski supplies were perfectly aligned in the snow, or the trees, footprints, and other things showed us that no shockwave had taken place. After that, in the USSR, they didn't spend money on investigating this situation. Maybe there was an order from above to not do this anymore. But after, when the Soviet Union was destroyed, meaning 30 years after, around 2019, Russia opened up the investigation again. And after a few months of investigation, they came up with a new theory. The investigation showed that the tent was in a slanted area, and on that day, there was heavy winds. And they also say it was snowy, so on the slanted part, a bunch of snow piled up, and all of a sudden, all that snow fell on top of the tent, and that one dead body that had a fractured skull was the only victim of that, because all that snow has a lot of weight to it, and the weight of it can do that to you. The theory says the other students thought there was an avalanche coming, and that is why they cut the tent open from the inside, and before putting on their clothes or boots, they just ran. For them to find a safe spot, they go towards the trees, because trees are a good obstacle for avalanche. But they don't have any clothes or boots, and it's extremely cold. This gruesome weather pretty much killed these people one by one. After a few of them died, and they noticed that there's no avalanche coming, they started heading back towards the tent. And the 3 people that were heading towards the tent, before they get to the tent, they die of hypothermia. And the last 4 that were the strongest get themselves to that igloo we were talking about. And it was a really old igloo, so they get inside there. But you could say that they were very unlucky, because that igloo was on very thin ice, and underneath it, there was running water. The weight of these 4 people caused the igloo to crash into that under snow river, and then they fall into freezing water. And that is why they had to dig 3 meters underneath the igloo to find a dead body. But don't think this was the actual story, because this was still a theory, and a lot of people still don't accept it. The only person that can actually give the true story is one of those 9 people that died, or that guy that was in the KGB. And nobody has any news on where he is or where he was. What do you guys think? This story is known as the most mysterious story that ever came out of the Soviet Union. Please leave a comment.